Indiana Governor Mike Pence joins us from our nation's capital right now. Good morning to you, Governor.
Good morning, Steve.
So you found out that our federal government secretly placed 245 children, illegal minor children, in Indiana through the press?
We absolutely did. It was late last week, Steve, and after having our administration monitor this issue, I mean, every American is obviously watching the crisis on our southern border with an incredible interest and concern. We found from press accounts that more than 200 undocumented children had been placed in private placement across the state of Indiana, and we were only notified by Health and Human Services after that was it being publicly reported. And I felt it was extremely important on behalf of the people of Indiana and my obligation as governor to see to the education, health, and welfare of people of our state, to communicate directly with the president and say that's unacceptable.
Sure, absolutely. So the administration admitted it after you caught them. Well, a while back, the press secretary for the president, Josh Earnest, made it very clear the reason they're not telling the governors across the country is because, well, they've got to keep it a secret for the kids. Listen.
There are privacy rights that are included in the law that this administration is committed to enforcing and following. So we're going to abide by the privacy rights of particular individuals.
Okay, Governor, I'm not even going to ask you to comment on the privacy angle. That is simply ludicrous. But as the #1 executive in the state of Indiana, they send hundreds of kids to your state.
Right.
Pretty soon, it's going to be time for school. I don't know about how much the state of
right.
Indiana pays per child in your state, but in my state, in my school district, they're paying $25,000 per kid for high school. You add up thousands in New Jersey and hundreds in your state, we're talking about some real money that's going to be liable to be paid by the taxpayers of Indiana.
All right, look, the state of Indiana and the people of Indiana have a right to know if undocumented, as vulnerable children and families are being placed into our communities. We have obligations, as you mentioned. It's about back-to-school time in Indiana, but there's also potentially health, other welfare issues that we need to be prepared to deal with. And I mean, it's just completely unacceptable that we read about this in the newspaper. And I expressed that to the president yesterday, but also, you know, I expressed that directly to Secretary Burwell in our meeting yesterday as well. I mean, one of the initial responses we got was that HHS would be giving states around the country a monthly update. And what I asked for was a real-time update for the placement of any of these individuals within our jurisdiction. And let me say, Indiana has a long tradition of welcoming legal immigrants to our state. And I have great compassion for these vulnerable families and children that have been caught up in this crisis on our southern border. But spiriting people around the country and not informing state governments and local officials about their placement or long-term placement with private individuals or with institutions is not the answer. What we ought to be doing is humanely processing these children and families and returning them to their home countries, reuniting them with their families. That's right for them, and also it's frankly the best way we could send a signal south of our border that we intend to uphold the laws of this country.
All right, Indiana Governor Mike Pence, who just wants to know what the federal government is doing in his state. Sir, thank you very much for joining us today from Washington.
Thank you, Steve.
All right.